All right, Jason, let's talk a little bit about our Hummer safaris.
Okay.
Tell me, where do the Hummer safaris meet?
So all the Hummer tours meet at our office, which is the Moab Adventure Center, which is located right in the middle of downtown at 225 South Main.
Okay. And do they have an option to be picked up at a hotel?
They do. During our busy season, we do offer a complimentary shuttle to and from your hotel. So we have a shuttle vehicle that will pick people up for their tours.
Okay. And are there any hotels or campgrounds that we don't offer pickups?
You know, we only service the campgrounds that are within the city center itself, and you know, we don't service any of the campgrounds or hotels that are outside of town, like Red Cliffs Lodge, Sorrel River Ranch, or the campgrounds that are up by Dead Horse Point. You know, anything.
Or even the BLM campgrounds along the river.
We don't. We don't do any of those. So it's just within the city limits.
Got it. Okay. And then, talk to me a little bit about the situation with kids.
We've set age limit of 5 years old for the Hummer tours, and part of the big reason of that is kids under 5 years old, they could really like the tour or they might not like it. If they don't like it, kids under the age of 5 tend to be really vocal about those trips, and it could, you know, it's not really a great environment for them to be on if they're that young, if they're not having a good time. And so we have set an age limit of 5 years old. We, if you do bring a 5-year-old and they do have a car seat, bring the car seat. The people can bring the car seat, and we will help them put it into the Hummer. Usually we'll put it in one of the inside seats so there can be a parent or a sibling on each side of them to kind of help take care of them on the trip. But yeah, the car seats are more than welcome on the trips, and then we just ask that you be 5 years old or older.
Okay.
For the tour.
And the car seats just position kind of into that middle.
They do.
That bench area in the Hummer.
Yeah, they just fit in like a normal car.
Okay.
You know, they have the straps that hold it down. So it's very similar.
And if someone were to have a child that's younger than 5 and say they had a bigger group where they were going to occupy the entire vehicle, would we be able to accommodate them in that situation?
That's a great question. We do allow people, if they are in a big group or if they have reserved the whole Hummer, to have children under that age. But if it's a mixed group of parties who don't know each other, then we do have that 5-year.
That makes sense. That way we don't get a younger child that's
it's
not with their own family. You know, usually their own family has a little more patience with their own children.
Exactly. They're not
usually
impacting another trip.
Right. Okay, no, that makes sense. And now let's get into the logistics of the trip a little bit. So they're meeting at Moab Adventure Center. They've loaded into the vehicle. How far is it from there to the trailhead?
So they'll meet at the Moab Adventure Center. The guides will do a quick kind of safety talk for the trip, kind of introduce themselves and kind of explain to people what they're going to be doing. And then to the trailhead is really quick here in town. It's maybe a 10-minute drive on paved roads before we hit the trailhead and are driving off road. And so it's actually, it doesn't take very long to get to the trailhead.
And once they leave the paved road, they're onto the trailhead, and it's Hell's Revenge. Describe to me a little bit about the terrain itself for someone who's never seen this area or maybe even been off-roading before.
So the terrain that Hell's Revenge is on, or that the Hummers go on, it's on the same terrain as the world-famous Slickrock bike trail. And this trail, and so you're basically riding your bike on ancient petrified sand dunes. And we kind of classify this as a slow-moving roller coaster. And so if you can imagine a sand dune, but hard and rolling, and this is exactly kind of what Hell's Revenge is we don't ever really go very fast on the trail, and for the most part the rock is really smooth most of the time, and the views that you get up there on top of the mesa are pretty incredible. You're about 2,000 feet higher than you are in town, and so you have great views of the LaSalle Mountains. You're looking into Arches National Park, you're looking out towards Canyonlands National Park. Just the views are amazing all the way around.
Okay, Jason, tell me about the Hummer itself. So we use an H1 Hummer for all of the Hummer safaris. Talk to me a little bit about seating arrangements, why we use the H1.
Okay, so we use the H1 Hummer, which is based off of the military Humvee vehicle. We use the pickup style H1, so it doesn't have seats in the back, and what we did is we retrofitted it with seating in the back, and we've made a custom roll bar for it. And then we've made it so each Hummer holds 9 people, and we've kind of been able to stack the seating or make it kind of stadium style seating, so the back seats are a little bit higher, and it's kind of like I kind of look at it, it's like the reverse splash zone at SeaWorld and stuff. The back seats are kind of the wilder ride. You're up higher, you kind of get more twisting and and side to side motions, and then it kind of gets calmer as you get down lower into the vehicle.
So with that stadium seating, where you're saying in the back it's a little more of a wild ride and gets progressively more tame as you get forward in the vehicle, would you say that's helpful for a couple or a family who has maybe different levels of adventure? They can kind of move to those different spots, because sometimes you get a spouse or somebody who's maybe a little nervous
Right.
about the tour, right? And they're like, I don't know, this kind of freaks me out. And the other one's saying, this will be so much fun. We've never done anything. I want the big, I want.
Yeah,
a big
exactly. Definitely the back row is the most popular seats, and we'll try to mix up the seating arrangement as we go. But then as you get up towards like the driver, the people who are timid or not quite sure about the adventure, those are good seats for them. And all the seats, have great views all the way around, but just those higher seats, you're kind of up above a little bit higher looking down. And then they have a sunshade on them, to keep the sun off of you during the hot summer months. Each Hummer also carries a water cooler so that we can refill people's waters, and as well as storage for snacks and backpacks or anything that people might bring along the trip. All the Hummers are diesel, so they get very good gas mileage. They just kind of putt along the trail. We don't really go fast in them, and it's just kind of a slow moving trail ride where you're getting a lot of about the area from the guides, as well as going over this iconic terrain.
Yeah.
This isn't a great trip if you're concerned, or if you have back issues, or if you're pregnant, or things like that. You probably should not do this trip. There's not a lot of jolting, but there is a few bumps that you need to be aware of on the trip.
Okay. Talk to me about the 3 different options that we offer for the Hummer Safari.
We have 3 tours that we offer. We have a 2-hour Hummer tour, and it basically goes out and to a viewpoint overlooking Arches National Park, and it's kind of out and back. It's a very good trip. It's our most popular trip. We have about 5 different times during the day that trip leaves, and so you can fit it into your schedule at almost any time, and it's a very easy trip to get onto. And then we have a 4-hour tour, which just does a longer route of the Hell's Revenge route. It takes in more of the area, more of the scenery that's up there, and does a little bit of an extended leg of the trail. If you're looking for a lot of adventure and want to see some amazing areas, the 4-hour tour is great to do. And then we also offer a 2.5-hour tour that's a sunset tour that goes in the evening. And we try to catch the sunset, and it goes up, and we serve snacks on that trip, where we stop and we'll watch, the sunset go down, or try to catch it as the evening light is coming across the LaSalle Mountains in the valley, which is very pretty. It's beautiful up there. And so those are the 3 tours that we offer on that trail.
Do you see anything along the way? Like, are there any particular stops that are, that you're learning about the area, geology, anything to see?
A lot of geology in the area. Just Moab in general is a geologist's, dream. There's just different kinds of rocks everywhere, and like we were talking about before, that you're on these petrified sand dunes, and you'll get up into places where you might be looking at red rocks one way, and then you're looking at snow-capped mountains behind you. So cool. Just the scenery and the beauty is 360 degrees all the way around, all the time.
Beautiful. Are there any dinosaur tracks or anything like that will...
It's funny you should say that. There is. Wow. There is a place where the trail stops where there are some dinosaur tracks in the sandstone, and which is pretty neat.
That's pretty cool.
And then from that area, you're also looking into the Moab Valley, which is the Moab Fault, and you'll kind of learn about the faults that made this valley that we're in, and it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So on the sunset, now this is a tour that leaves, the time varies throughout the year. Would you suggest that people get dinner prior to leaving on that tour?
We would recommend getting dinner before the trip, depending on the time of year that it starts. During the summer months, that trip leaves, later at 5:30 or, and so a lot of it just depends on the people doing the trip. Some people don't mind eating at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Other people want to eat earlier. We do serve light snacks on it, but it's not a meal. It's not dinner. And so we would encourage people to either plan on eating before or after the trip.
Okay. And if you wanted to get, because for some that's going to be a slightly earlier dinner than what they would normally do, is there a place you'd recommend that they can get something a little quicker?
You know, Moab's pretty amazing. It has all sorts of types of food in town. You know, we have the typical fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Wendy's. You know, if you're looking for a sit-down meal, there's some places right close to the Moab Adventure Center that you can eat, like the Moab Diner, Fiesta Mexicana, which is right across the street. There's also some great Thai restaurants that are really close within walking distance, and some pizza places that are really close.
Okay.
There's a lot of options.
And then we also have the food truck park, right?
There is.
And that's fairly quick if you needed to
Mm-hmm.
just get in there and grab something quickly. So that's great to know.
Yeah, the food park is about 3 or 4 blocks away,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of options there.
Okay, awesome. So Jason, you mentioned snacks on the Sunset tour. What about the other Hummer tours?
So we do
provide snacks on all of them?
Yeah, we do supply snacks on all our trips. Every trip, the guest gets a water bottle, and then they can fill that water bottle with water for the trip, and it's a complimentary water bottle that they can take home after the trip. And then also we have a variety of snacks on the trip that the guests can partake of. We'll stop at a nice scenic location and do a snack break
Okay.
and just take in the scenery.
But on all of those trips, don't count on there being enough snack that it's a meal for you. Whether that be breakfast or dinner, it's just a
No,
snack.
it's not a meal. It's
Okay.
just something to kind of hold you over till you get back. And so I would not count on that, considering it a dinner.
Yeah, no, that's great. How early should a guest arrive before their Hummer tour, or any tour for that matter?
So we encourage people to show up for the trip about 20 minutes before the departure time. All of our trips kind of have that same window of 20 minutes, and that gives you time to, sign any last-minute paperwork that needs to be signed, get loaded up for your trip, apply sunscreen, get those last-minute things that you might need, for your adventure.
What happens if a guest arrives late to a tour?
If a guest arrives late, we have set times that we leave. We kind of say that we're like an airline. We need to leave when we need to leave, because there's other operators who are also doing similar trips, and we try to make the least congestion as possible and have the best experience possible for our guests. So if someone is late, there is a possibility that they may miss the trip. We feel it's really important to be on time, just because we have people who are waiting, and so we have set that 20-minute window before a trip starts, so that people have kind of a 20-minute leeway before the trip departs.
No, that makes sense. How would you say someone should dress for the Hummer Safari?
So we encourage people to dress for the season. If it's spring or fall, you may want to bring a light jacket, pair of pants, and just dress according to what the weather forecast for that day. During the summer months, again, dress for the weather that's predicted. We do have the occasional thunderstorms or rainstorms that come through in the summer, but the daytime temperatures are fairly hot, and so it's good to dress appropriately, such as shorts, t-shirts, a hat, sunglasses, and sunscreen. All things we encourage people to bring.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note, I think, even during some of those summer months, those early morning tours, or the ones that go a little later in the evening, it does cool off.
It does cool
here
down,
at night,
for sure.
And so even a light jacket can be helpful during those.
There's plenty of room in the Hummers if people want to bring like a backpack or a bag with extra clothing in it, or sunscreen or anything like that.
Okay.
So we have room for any of that stuff. And
Whether they even use it or not, there's plenty of room.
It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. It's kind of our motto on all the trips that we offer.
What do we generally suggest for a gratuity amount if guests ask?
Typically we'll let a guest know that a typical tip is around 10 to 20% of the trip cost.
So I assume the simplest format, obviously, if people have it, is to probably go to an ATM or something, have cash available, give it directly to their guide.
It is, yeah. They can do it with cash at the end of the trip. They can come up to the counter and ask for an envelope, and our staff at the counter will give the guest an envelope that they can then put the tip in, write a little note, and put their name on it, and then we will give that envelope to the guide when next time he comes in and stuff. Guests also have been Venmoing tips to guides, and then also Western River and the Moab Adventure Center allows our guests to, if they want to leave a tip, to put it on a credit card, and then we will then in turn put that tip in the next paycheck for the guide. There's a line item for guide gratuities.
Okay.
That they'll see. If you're in that Hummer for the day, that tip goes to that driver of that Hummer.
Okay, got it. Why would you suggest that someone experience a Hummer safari?
For me, I think the Hummer Safari is it's Moab. It's iconic. You know, you come to Moab. Moab was known as the mountain bike capital of the world. It's known as kind of one of the most top off-road driving destinations of the world. And then you have these iconic red cliffs all around us. And the Hummer tour kind of envelops all of that stuff. You're crossing the bike trail that made Moab famous. You're off-roading on one of the premier off-road trails in the United States is Hell's Revenge. And you're doing it amongst beauty that's rivals any national park, you know, and it's an incredible area, it's beautiful. And so if you wanted to do an activity that kind of defines Moab, you know, we encourage everybody to go to Arches National Park and do something in the backcountry. And a Hummer tour is a great way to get out into the backcountry and experience the ruggedness and beauty that Moab has to offer.